Today, D-Day for the CFMEU. The federal government strikes a deal with the coalition to pass a bill forcing the union into administration.
The coalition has secured, after much discussions with the government, a series of very significant amendments to the CFMEU administration bill.
America's top diplomat to meet with the Israeli president as Hamas accuses Israel of again derailing ceasefire negotiations. Belarus deploys troops along the border as Ukrainian forces destroy a second key bridge in Russia's Kursk region. And Tasmanian explorers map Australia's deepest cave system. Hello and welcome to ABC News. I'm Kathryn Robinson. Legislation to allow the federal government to force the CFMEU into administration will pass the parliament, with the coalition agreeing to back it. Last week, the coalition and Greens joined to delay a vote on the legislation. Political reporter Nicole Hegarty joins us now from Parliament House in Canberra. Hi there, Nicole. Now, political donations were a key sticking point for the coalition. What's changed?
Yes, they were. They were the primary sticking point in these.
Ensure that the construction union can get back to focusing on the best interests of its members rather than some of the criminality, corruption and violence that unfortunately has contaminated this union for too long.
As the Minister Murray Watt said there, the key aim of this administration process is to clear out the upper decks of the CFMEU, particularly this Construction and General Division, and allow it to again focus on its members, the allegations, and making clear that in accordance with those, it doesn't look like that has been happening to date. So the government's very keen to see that those normal operations resume, and the primary focus being on workers.
Nicole Hegarty, thanks for the update. America's top diplomat is scheduled to meet Israel's President Isaac Herzog as Israel and Hamas trade blame over stalling ceasefire negotiations. The US Secretary of State Antony Blinken is on his 9th visit to the region since the October 7 attacks on Israel. Hamas has accused Israel of derailing ceasefire negotiations by making up new conditions and refusing to compromise on others. Mediators are hoping to prevent a wider war after Iran and its allies threatened retaliation for assassinations in Tehran and Lebanon. Middle East correspondent Eric Torchek reports.
The United States has tried to take control of these talks, telling everyone there was a final deal put to the parties and it was going to be accepted by the end of the week. Now Hamas says that's a lie. It says the US has essentially taken Israel's side in the negotiations and accepted positions that Hamas was never going to agree to, such as Israel retaining a military presence inside the Gaza Strip, retaining control of the border with Egypt, and not agreeing to a permanent ceasefire.
Saying the situation there remains unchanged.
There are over 120,000 Ukrainian troops on the Belarusian-Ukrainian border. They are keeping them near our border. Seeing their aggressive policy, we have introduced there and placed in certain points our military along the entire border. In case of war, they would be defence.
In the US, the Democratic Party is making final preparations for its national convention, where Kamala Harris is due to officially accept her party's nomination for the presidential race. North America correspondent Carrington Clark is in Chicago.
America's third largest city and the Democratic Party are preparing for this 4-day-long extravaganza, which effectively amounts to a Democratic coronation of Vice President Kamala Harris.
Call her to win the case. Ms. Young also mentioned her client's medical state affected the decision. Senator Reynolds' defamation action centres around social media posts by Ms. Higgins, which she claims damaged her reputation and caused her distress. Well, Sam Yang is here now with your latest finance news.
Westpac has posted a 6% increase in third quarter profit to $1.8 billion. The bank reported a slight expansion in margins, while markets and treasury income, along with some hedging, were a drag on the result. The 2% increase in net interest income, reflecting both higher margins and more loans being written. Expenses increased by 2% due to a larger investment spend and inflation-related costs on technology services. Meanwhile, property giant Lendlease has tumbled into red, announcing a $1.5 billion loss, a steep decline from last year's $230.
Doctors to return to work. President of Indian Doctors in Australia, Dr. Surjit Taraftar, says the protests are symptomatic of insecurity in the medical industry.
You can see people are out there on the streets, and you can probably see as many men and young boys are out on the streets as young girls and women. So all of us feel strongly. We feel like us. It's just a small minority of people who get away with these crimes. And what we are asking for is definitely sterner rules, sterner laws, fast tracking of the courts, so that people who want to do this in future stand warned. They know that they cannot get away with it.
The federal government has been slammed by one of its own MPs for briefing lobbyists before its own caucus on legislating a partial ban on gambling ads. Mike Freelander called the move disgusting and said Labor was being softened up by the gambling industry. Chief Digital Political Correspondent Jacob Greber has the details from Canberra.
Mike Freelander is a backbencher. He's also a doctor and has a very strong view on things from the health perspective. And he's become very frustrated that the government's preferred position has been briefed out.
Is it more just a better understanding of the system beneath which we walk?
More just for a better understanding. You can use it for navigation, but mostly as just to explore more and understand more about the system. A lot of major caves don't get a proper map made because there's a lot of data handling you've got to do. Like this cave's been in, Niggly, the deepest bit where the old previous cave has been around since it was found in 1989. So you've got 30 years worth of data there. So a lot of caves don't get a final map published.
Yeah, okay. And just quickly before I let you go, it's been called the Delta variant for obvious reasons. How does everyone feel about the name?
Mostly pretty good. It's named after COVID, and all the bits inside the cave are named after different bits of COVID. For example, we've got Daily Cases, which is a 163-metre waterfall that you abseil down to get to the bottom.
Yeah, right. Oh, it's the pictures that you've created, the maps that you created are really something to behold. Henry Garrett, thank you so much for sharing what it's been like for you mapping this cave system.
Thanks for having me.
Well, a large fire has destroyed a barge moored in Sydney Harbour overnight. Emergency crews received multiple calls about a fire on a boat in Berry Bay around 7 o'clock last night. The flames developed rapidly, threatening multiple vessels in the vicinity, including New South Wales's only heritage-listed boat, the SS South Stein. A combined effort by firefighters and the state's Port Authority extinguished the blaze. Time for some sports news now, and Daniela Intilli joins me in the studio. Danny, let's start with the AFL match review's findings.
Yeah, no surprise here, Kath. Port Adelaide's Dan Houston was sent straight to the tribunal. It was after a bump during Port Adelaide's win against Adelaide in the showdown, where he knocked out Crows forward Isaac Rankin. So the match review panel graded it as careless conduct, severe impact and high contact. So he is likely to be handed a lengthy suspension and could or likely to miss the finals as well. And in some other news, during that game, there was an incident involving Willie Rioli, where both clubs have released statements in support of Willie Rioli after being made aware of racial comments about him on social media, and they've condemned the actions.
Okay, Penrith player Nathan Cleary, he was back at the club today in rehabilitation mode.
Yeah, I mean, there was a bit of a shock during the game against the Melbourne Storm, where he
Oh, after the game, he was pretty gutted, but he's in there ripping in. I know he's rehab already, so yeah.
Now, Danny, an Australian cyclist, has won in Spain.
Yeah, this is wonderful news. Caden Groves has won at La Vuelta a España in stage 2. He avoided a few crashes to clinch the victory on the 194-kilometre stage. He beat the Tour leader Belgian Wout van Aert in a sprint finish, but Van Aert, he's got a 3-second overall lead over American Brandon McNulty, but it is a 5th stage win for Groves. Here he is speaking after that.
A really nice way to start this Vuelta. Been a hard year for myself, not having a win yet, and come here super motivated to change that. And I must say I got to thank my team for a really strong ride today and controlling for me.
And Kath, we're going to stick to cycling because there was a thrilling finish in the Tour de France Femme where Poland's Kasia Niewiadoma, she crossed with an overall time of just 4 seconds ahead of the defending champion Demi Vollering, and it was enough to clinch the victory. Vollering, she had been leading for some periods during the race, and she stormed home to claim that 8th and final stage, but it wasn't enough. So it was Niewiadoma claiming the 2024 Women's Tour with a time of 24 seconds, 30 minutes and 7 seconds. We did also have a few Aussies in this race, including Grace Brown, the gold medalist. She had some issues with her bike during the 3rd stage. Sarah Gigante as well was in there. So we did have a few Aussies. Hopefully we'll get a win.
Better luck next year.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they're still in it for the race, absolutely, Danny. And finally, the EPL is back.
It is back, and Manchester City, the reigning premiers, picking up from just outside the penalty area in the 84th minute. And there was another match as well, Brentford beating Crystal Palace 2-1.
Okay, thanks so much, Danny. Let's have a quick look at tomorrow's weather now. A shower or two in Brisbane, mostly sunny in Sydney. A shower or two for Canberra. Showers in Melbourne, heading for 19 degrees there. A shower or two in Hobart as well, a little cooler, 17 the top. Showers in Adelaide, 18. Similar conditions in Perth with a top of 20 degrees. And in Darwin, sunny with a top of 34. And that is ABC News for now. I'm Kathryn Robinson. Thanks for being here with us on the first day of the new look ABC News. A comprehensive redesign has been rolled out across visual platforms, including a new look for the news website. And the iconic ABC News theme is back, as you can probably hear, for the first time in nearly 20 years. We'll leave you with that, but do stay with us. We'll be back shortly here on the ABC News channel.